Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Delaney, and for today's video we are officially doing my eyeshadow palette declutter. Now, depending on how this goes, I may put it all in one video. I may do separate videos for the small palettes and the big palettes. It's just going to depend on time. So I will pop it up right here if it is for just mini palettes only, or if it's all eyeshadow palettes. But I'm so excited for today's video. I have a ton of eyeshadow palettes. Not as many as I've had in previous years, but still way too many. So I definitely need to be ruthless. I need to go through these and see what I need to keep and what I need to toss or donate. Most of these eyeshadow palettes will be donated. I have friends who are newly diving into the makeup world, so I will most likely be donating my palettes that I declutter to them if they are still good. But without further ado, if you are interested in watching my declutter of my eyeshadow palettes, then definitely keep on watching. So here's the mini palette drawer at the moment, or it's a little bit cluttered right now. Obviously I need to go through it badly, but we have some on top here, but then all of my Natasha Denona minis are down there. There are some kind of hiding in different places, so we have quite a bit to go through today. So let's just go ahead and dive in. Starting off with the first palette that will absolutely not be going anywhere. This is from Viseart and it is beat up. You can tell how much I've used this. This is the Neutral Matte Eyeshadow Palette. This I got in a BoxyCharm a very long time ago. I actually have a backup of this because I use it so often. I got it in a sale for BoxyCharm back when I still had that subscription, and it is waiting in the wings ready for me when I need to open that one. As you can see, I will be needing to soon, but it still has a good amount of life in it. Especially that top row, you can definitely see which shades I have used the most. This was a very light bone shade, and I've used it up completely, like hit complete pan. There is nothing left in there except for just a little bit of dust. But these are next to go. They are so good. The formula on these is absolutely incredible. It is just so easy, blendable. I don't know, I would even venture to say beginner friendly. Like, it's really hard to mess up these shadows. You can really buff them out if you mess up, and you can really layer them beautifully. I have had so much fun with this palette, and I can do any neutral look I need to that's matte in this palette. I love it so much. It is such a good travel palette because of the hard plastic. And it's not like super cheap plastic. It has not broken yet, like some of the palettes you are going to see in my collection. Spoiler alert. This is so good. I really want to try more Viseart palettes. If they're anything like this, then they're going to be incredible. I know Teresa's Dead has a few that are her favorite, and I think I may follow her recommendations and try out some of those. But this palette is just so incredible. It is like my home palette. It is my base palette. If I need to do something quick, easy, my go-to, this is it. So it is a keep. Since this one is right here, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it so I can put it back. This is from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and this is their Glam To Go eyeshadow and pressed pigment palette. It has such a nice, like, subtle pink shimmer to it. I love the packaging, so cute. Very nice on-the-go palette, super compact and small. I love that the packaging matches the bigger palettes with like the cardboard, but it has that same feel and vibe to it. Very upscale cardboard. It's not like, it doesn't feel super cheap. This is such a beautiful color story, and again, one that I love to travel with. It is definitely more of that pink neutral leaning palette. It has a nice, like, you can go cool toned, you can go warm toned. You can go right in the middle. You have the mattes to go with it, and you have a deeper shade right here to deepen up, whether you want to go warm or cool. It's just perfect. Like, you can lean peachy, you can lean pinky, cool, mauve. It's just whatever you want. There's so many options with 8 shades, which is really hard to do. I love that. The formula in here is the beautiful Anastasia formula that I have come to know and love. Very similar to the shades in Sultry and Modern Renaissance and all of those big palettes that you will be seeing shortly. But this one is like a great go-to mini version, and I travel with it all the time. I'm 100% keeping it, and it's going back in its home spot, which is right here. This one is very new in my collection. This is from Makeup by Mario. This is the Ethereal Eyes Moonlight palette. I haven't bought a ton of new eyeshadow palettes recently because I have so many. So this is one of the ones that is on the newer side in my collection because I just recently got married and this is the palette that I wore on my wedding day. So my makeup artist used this one on my eyes for my wedding look and I was so happy with it. And I loved the formula so much that I actually went out and got the palette for myself, not only just for the palette in general, but for the sentimental value of, hey, this is the one I wore on my wedding day. So for date nights or for anniversaries, I'm going to be wearing this palette to kind of, you know, spark that memory of wearing this on the wedding day. Now, not only is it sentimental, but the formula is really, really good. I will go ahead and give a disclaimer though, that when I first tried this palette, it almost made me think that my eyes were itchy. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a combination of the makeup artist's products that she had used for the first time for the trial or what. I did not have any bad, I didn't have any itching on the day of, but the first time I wore this palette, I did. And I'm not sure if it was from this palette or not. The only reason I want to do this as a disclaimer is because when I was watching Teresa's Dead video about this, she did mention that she initially had some kind of reaction to the shades, and she doesn't anymore now that she's used it more, but initially when she first tried it, she did. And I thought that was kind of strange, that maybe that's a coincidence, but I don't know. But I just wanted to go ahead and give that disclaimer just in case anybody else has had that happen to them. But I have used this many times since and have not had any reaction to it. I will say the matte formula of this palette is incredible. I know a lot of people love the all matte palette from Makeup by Mario. I would love to try that one maybe eventually, but so far this one's enough for me right now. It has every shade that I would need for a neutral look. This shade here is a beautiful shimmer. It's like a white icy shade, and then you have a rose gold, kind of a deeper gold, and then a nice like smoky black if you want to do a smoky eye with a shimmer. It has everything that I truly need in a neutral palette, and then a nice little fun pop of blue if I want to play around a little bit. But it's so good. The formula is so good. The shimmers are more of a thinner consistency. I'm not going to be swatching everything in my eyeshadow palettes because it's going to take me years to go through if I do that. But I will say that the formula is on the thinner, like fine glitter side, and you don't necessarily feel the chunks at all. It's very, very finely milled, very thin. It's not like the Natasha Denona formula where it feels almost like a cream. It's almost just like a thin, like wash of glitter. And it feels so lightweight. It's almost like you have nothing on your eyes. It's crazy. It's a different formula that I'm used to. Not saying that the Natasha Denona one's bad. I'm just trying to, tell you how, I'm trying to describe the formula without just repeating. It's super thin because sometimes I don't know if people understand what that means. It's just harder to describe, but really gorgeous. And the glitter really reflects so well, and it just looks like a bunch of little diamonds on your eyes, and that is perfect for me. And I love this palette, and I'm keeping it, especially for the sentimental value, but also because it's a great palette, and I would recommend it. I'm going to try to talk about palettes a little less, because I know that I can talk forever and ever and ever and ever. So we're to try not to do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and throw in one that I can definitely declutter. This is from NYX, and it is their Ultimate Shadow Palette in the shade Ultimate Utopia. As you can see here, I got it from Marshall's for $6. Great price point. And honestly, the formula is not terrible. It's not bad. But NYX does not have my favorite eyeshadow formula. I just don't think that I need to keep this around. It's a great drugstore option, but the formula just doesn't have that same quality to it that I look for in an eyeshadow. I am very picky about my eyeshadows. When I reached into this a couple times, I didn't really find myself trying to reach back into it, which kind of shows me that it's not for me. There's nothing I can say about it that's truly like terrible. It's just very forgettable for me. I will say the colorful, fun shimmer shades are the highlight of this palette, but everything else is very eh. But if you need a nice like neutral with a pop of color at the drugstore, this one would be great. It's just because I have so many palettes in my collection, this one often gets forgotten, and I don't need it, and I don't use it, and I can pass it on to someone who is going to use it. So, declutter. Now, this one is also from the drugstore. This is actually from, I think I got it at Target. I don't know if they still sell Jason Wu at Target. I didn't see it the last time I went, but this is so good. I will pop up the name of this palette on screen. I think it's the Flora Euphoria palette, but it's kind of difficult to tell what this palette's called from the packaging, but this is by Jason Wu. It is a super awesome neutral palette that's great for travel. This packaging is so sturdy for a drugstore package. It is so nice. These shimmers are incredible. This one almost has that kind of Makeup by Mario vibe to it. It's very thin. I need to like kind of swirl my finger around a lot to get the product out, kind of more than I would with the Makeup by Mario. For the drugstore price point, this is still incredible. I will say, this is a pressed glitter in here. And I don't know if I would recommend using the pressed glitter. Honestly, I don't know. Like, I think you can use it. It's just, I am not as much into that anymore. I'm very, very, very particular about pressed glitters just because I don't want to get glitter in my eyes, like chunky glitter or anything. It is pretty fine of a glitter, so you may actually like it, but I prefer this palette for the shimmer shades, these three right here, and the mattes. This one shade doesn't really bother me that it's there. I do wish they just replaced it with a different shimmer though and didn't have the pressed glitter. Maybe the other palettes don't have the glitter. I don't know, because they had a bunch of different options of this little like 9-pan situation. Really, really good. I'm going to keep because it is a great drugstore option and a great travel palette that I actually frequently use. So keep. This may be a shock, okay? I think I might actually declutter this. Something about the formula was not as good as the bigger palettes I have from them. This is from Pat McGrath. Now, this is part of this may be part of their Bridgerton collection, I think. Actually, no, it just kind of looks like that. I don't know. This is the Bijou Brilliance eyeshadow palette from Pat McGrath. And the packaging is so pretty, and it has very luxurious cardboard packaging. It definitely has a different price point than usual for Pat McGrath as well. So maybe there is a difference in these shades. At first swatch, these are super creamy and beautiful. The shimmers actually are the highlight of this. And do I want to keep it? I don't know. See, I swatch into it and then I'm like, oh, I should probably keep it. But I never reach into this. That's the problem. Like, they're beautiful, but I never reach into it. And I think the reason is because the shimmer shades are fantastic, but the matte shades, they're more of a satin, and the way that they blend out is not my favorite. I don't know, something about this palette in particular doesn't have the same, oh my gosh, quality as the other Pat McGrath palettes that I have. And so for that reason, I think I do have to declutter this. I think my friend will get a lot of use out of this, and hopefully these shades, being a cream to powder kind of formula, will be a little bit easier for her to blend out. I mean, they're not as user-friendly. I don't know if she'll be able to or not. We'll see. I'm going to try to teach her and see if she can use it. But if she can't, she can decide what to do with it. This shade is so gorgeous. And this one, they're super reflective and almost feel like a putty, kind of like a Super Shock shadow. Very, very pretty. I know I said I wasn't going to swatch a ton, but it's really gorgeous. And I thought I would really get a lot of use out of it, but I think it's because also these shades are so dark. Like, I usually would use this and then a shimmer. It's very like, okay, I can only do this and a shimmer. It's, I don't know, like I don't look into this and get inspired, and the formula, something's a little different about it. So I think, and oh, the longevity. I had trouble with the longevity of these shades. I think that was the other problem. The shimmers kind of disappeared from my eyes after a while. Not my favorite one from Pat McGrath, so this is going to be decluttered. So a neutral palette, kind of similar to the Jason Wu in Color Story, but they're both from the drugstore. This one is from LA Girl, and this is their Sundays eyeshadow palette. This is so good. This is in Under the Sun. I think they have a different version of this with slightly different colors, so this is the Under the Sun version. I love LA Girl. I think their eyeshadow formula is so, so good. If I had to recommend a drugstore eyeshadow formula to y'all, I think it would be this one, honestly. Like, Colourpop used to have me in a chokehold, but these are so good. The only problem with recommending LA Girl for eyeshadow is it's very hit or miss depending on the palette. So anything in this kind of formula or this kind of packaging that's a palette, I have good luck with. Anything in like the quads or trios or doubles, like the smaller palettes from them, that have maybe like 4 shades or less, maybe 5 shades or less, I tend to have an issue with. There was one that kind of looked hexagonal. I'll pop it up which one I was talking about. I had 2 of them and the formula was so dry that I could barely use them, and I decluttered them pretty much immediately. But these, there's just something so amazing about the shimmer formula from LA Girl. When they get it right, they get it right. So definitely look for recommendations from people, or go for the bigger palettes from them, because they usually are really good. Their mattes are super buttery and soft and blendable. They usually have some great shade combinations. The amount of shimmers in here is perfect ratio for me to get a ton of looks out of this palette. This packaging is really like sturdy too. I really enjoy it, and I take this traveling with me a lot. LA Girl, super affordable. Definitely give them a try if you haven't. So good. That one's a keep. This one, I definitely can get rid of a few. So I have 4 eyeshadow palettes from Colourpop, and these are the quads from Colourpop. I don't think I should keep all 4. So this one is in cream soda. I use that one a ton. This one is sparkler. This one is the Taurus palette, so it is called Never Tore Us Apart. And we have sorbet. I will say that the formula in these is so good. I loved it a lot, but it can be really fragile. So this one, you can see I've kind of had to press this shade together a little bit. This one's a little bit deeper, more like rich, warm, deep tones that I don't reach for super often. And if I do, I have other palettes that have these tones in it. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this one. It's really nice though, formula's great. But the shimmer shades are just a little deeper than I normally reach for, so declutter. This one is an absolute keep. It is so good. Like, I don't know. This quad is so nice for travel if it wasn't so dang fragile. I will say, don't bring it in your makeup bag if you're going to go on a long trip or an airplane or anything. It's going to shatter. This is definitely an at-home, easy palette, which sucks because they're made for traveling. They're quads. The reason they're small is because you can travel with them. So that part I don't love. But the shimmers in here are so amazing. I mean, tell me that does not look like the Pat McGrath one we just swatched. This is Colourpop. That's another reason that I didn't like that Pat McGrath one, because Colourpop came in and made a shade exactly like it, and this quad was like, I don't know if they still sell these anymore, but it was super cheap. It was maybe like $9 or something. It was under 10, definitely. But the formula is really great. The matte formula is great. The shimmer formula is great. Everything about this palette is great. So I'm going to keep. Now, I think I want to declutter at least one more. And part of me thinks that I would dip into the mauves a little bit more than this. But at the same time, I think I have a ton of palettes with mauve shades in it. Just like the Anastasia palette here. I have the Modern Renaissance and a bunch of different mauve pinky palettes. So I think this one is less unique in my collection. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and declutter. Again, the formula on these is so good. It's not against the formula at all. This one is my star sign. And for some reason, I don't know if it's because it's for Tauruses or the color story. It just pulls me in so much because it reminds me so much of my Natasha Denona Mini Gold palette. And that one will be coming up later in this video. Spoiler alert, it is one of my favorite palettes, point blank period, in my collection. Like, large, small, doesn't matter. It is one of my favorite palettes ever. Maybe it is that it reminds me so much of that palette that I love it so much, but also the formula is really amazing as well. And it's a drugstore palette, and I love these colors, like these, the green, the neutral. So if I want to go green, I can go green. If I want to go neutral, I can. This shade in particular, it's so sparkly, it doesn't even want to focus. It is so nice. Like this greeny gold shade, I am a sucker for. It's just so pretty and it just makes me happy. I love green. My eyes are green, and I feel like this makes my eyes just really pop when I wear it, and I love these kind of tones. So I'm going to keep this. So I kept 2 out of the 4 of those Colourpop palettes. So let's see if I have any more Colourpop palettes to talk about. I have one more Colourpop palette, and this is the That's Taupe palette. And I don't know if I actually decluttered this at one point or not. I can't even remember. This one I go back and forth on in my head all the time. I do love these tones, but can I find them elsewhere? I don't know. Yes, kind of. But this shade in particular is so pretty. It actually kind of has that Makeup by Mario vibe, just a little bit more pigmented. Oh yeah, that is so pretty. I said I wasn't going to swatch, but here I am. It has that kind of Makeup by Mario ethereal feel to it, but it has that Super Shock formula that I love. The problem is that is like my favorite shade out of the palette. So do I want to keep it for that reason? Let me just compare it to the Makeup by Mario one so that you can see the difference. I think it's kind of similar to this shade here. So this one's a lot thinner than the Colourpop formula. I'm going to put it right next to it. It might be a little darker, but that's okay. Yeah, it's a little darker in tone. It's not as champagne-y. But you see how similar that is? I mean, that's crazy. I will say that this one feels a little bit more light, airy, sophisticated. This one's a little thicker. You're going to have to blend it out a little bit and make sure there's no like patchiness. Well, patchiness is not the right word, but like chunks. Because the cream sometimes like you can get a little too much on your finger and have to blend out. But the end result is so similar. It's crazy. So do I always recommend the luxury ones when things like this exist? Maybe not. I only recommend that if you are an avid makeup lover and you really love the luxurious feel of the formula, but this one still feels really good. So it's kind of hard for me to say, oh, spend all the money on this one when things like this exist. It does have that similar like cool toned vibe. This one has more colors in it, but I think I have a lot of warm toned eyeshadows. Part of me wants to keep this because it's my only like fully cool toned palette. I do have a Natasha Denona one that is more on the cool side as well. The regular shimmer shades are also really pretty from Colourpop. They are also super shimmery and shiny and beautiful. So I think I am going to keep this. I think I am. This one from Huda Beauty. I'm so tempted to declutter this one, and maybe that means that I should because I haven't touched it in a very long time. This is the Wild Jaguar palette from Huda Beauty. I love the packaging, the little like holographic jaguar print in the back, super nice. It's a nice like sturdy plastic that travels really well. The shades are not super fragile, so they don't break easily. These are good, but I will say I like the shimmer shades from Huda more than the matte shades. The matte shades are fine. The shimmers are really where it's at. Now, this one is a little bit more of like almost like a baked formula, which I actually really like. It does have that kind of thinner vibe, just like the Makeup by Mario one when you put it on, like a light wash of shimmer. These are your more like creamy shimmer shades that really pack a pigment punch. I want to say that I should keep this because I don't have a lot of like, I don't know, like these dark, moody eyeshadow color stories. So part of me wants to keep it and part of me says, oh, I don't really reach for it as much because it's the colorful, like dark, moody palette, which I'm not always reaching into. So this one, I might have to swatch another shimmer to see. The formula is still really great. So see, that just draws me in again. All right, you know what? I'm gonna have to keep it. It's too beautiful. I have to keep it, especially these green shades. Green and purple are two of my favorite colors. Pink, green, purple, gold, all of the great things, right? This one has a lot of it. I don't tend to reach into the gray tone as much, but with the purple, it really pairs nicely. These two are the most used mattes in here, and I sometimes use this as a liner when I do a look. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it. I'm finding that I am not decluttering as much as I thought here, but let me just show you one that I definitely can declutter. This one is from Tresluce. Tresluce? Hopefully I said that correctly. This is the I Am Alma palette, and I never reach into this. It's beautiful. The formula's fine, especially the mattes. The mattes are really, really good. The shimmers are good too. They're not my favorite shimmers on the planet, but the mattes are really buttery, smooth, awesome shades. I just never reach into it. I kept it because I thought it would be a nice travel palette and it has like some fun pops of color, but I don't need it. I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this one. This one's pretty easy. All right, let's see. Maybe I can get rid of one of these. Who knows? It's really hard for me to get rid of these, but these are the Kidos palettes. I have 3 of the Futurism palettes still. Actually, technically I have 4 because one of them I said I was gonna declutter and somehow it didn't get donated or thrown away. So it ended up back in my possession and I'm so tempted to keep it because it's beautiful, but I know I never reach into it, so I think I'm still gonna declutter it. I'll go ahead and show you which one it is anyway, since we're just going through these anyway. I might as well, right? This one is the Astro Pink. This one was one of my most used, but I think I kept it for this blue shade. And I don't need to. I have plenty of mauve shades. I can get rid of it. This time, this one's gonna be decluttered for real this time. I can't keep it around for that reason. This one's a little harder. This is the Lunar Lavender Futurism palette. The packaging on these is just incredible. This one, I really like this a lot. The shades, I can use all of them. I think they're all beautiful. And I love the fun pops of color with the shimmers and the mattes. Whichever one, if you want to do purple or neutral with a pink or a purple shimmer, you can. I think my makeup tastes have just changed and I don't find myself reaching into this one. So I think this one is also going to be a declutter. It saddens me because these are some of my previously most used palettes and now not so much. But I do have one that is colorful that I think I may keep just because I love it so much. This is the Electro Turquoise palette and this is so shocking. Like, who would have thought this is the one that I might want to keep? It has one neutral shade in here, but honestly, if I reach into this palette, it is not for the neutral. It is for this bright, incredible turquoise shade. And I usually do this look is the mattes, like the inner corner light blue, outer corner dark blue, with this shade all over the lid, and then this shade is an inner corner highlight, and then the orange on my lower lash line. And I don't know why, but it just feels like such an awesome look. I love the way my eyes pop when I do it. Do I wear that look a lot? No. So should I be saving a palette just for that? Or can I possibly find those shades in another palette? Maybe, except for this one. That's what holds me back from decluttering this. But I may have an idea of a palette that may have something similar to this. So who knows? If I find that, let me just go ahead and swatch this one so I have that as a reference. If I find a palette that has that, maybe I'll keep the other one and not this one. But Kidos shimmer formula is absolute perfection. It's so good. This shade right here is why I want to keep that palette. I know I shouldn't. This one is like a nice silvery white shade, which you can find in other palettes, right? That one I can dupe in a lot of them. It's still incredible though. It's really good. You see how much more pigmented these shades are than these? Like these shimmer shades here. They just are made to pack a punch and they really, really do. I love it. So this one is going to be a maybe. If I find a dupe in my palettes for these two shades, I will declutter this one and I will keep the other. This one is also a little hard because it is a neutral palette, but it is truly beautiful. This is the Sashimi City. Yeah, Sashimi City palette from Kidos. And it has some gorgeous shades in here. This is the neutral girly of the Futurism palettes, and it's really good. The mattes are also super buttery, soft, great shades. So it's really hard for me to say, oh, you know, I'm going to declutter this because the formula is really, really good. I think out of all of the Kidos palettes, this is my most used. So I think I want to keep this one. I'm not ready to part ways with the Kidos formula just yet. It's just so good. And this shade in particular, it's like a duochrome peachy gold shift. And then this one is also a duochrome. It's got that like golden pink shift. Really beautiful. great for neutral, but pop of color. I think this one is a definite keep. The Electro Turquoise, we will see if I can find something similar. This one is the palette that I think I may have a potential shade that might be close to that blue. This is from Pat McGrath again. So this is their Blitz Astral Quad in the shade Nocturnal Nirvana. I keep the outer packaging because the outer packaging is the really pretty part. This is not as much, like, it's still pretty, but I love the outer packaging and it makes me know what it is. But this one is all like plastic, like heavy plastic and metal. It's very luxurious. This is what the back looks like, and it is like, it's legit metal. This is heavy. This is a heavy palette. But this is the shade here that if this one is a match and it does look really, really close, that maybe I can get rid of the other one. But these are more of a baked formula, kind of. I love how it doesn't even want to focus sometimes because of the glitter. But it's kind of more of a dry baked formula. It's not drying on your eyes, and it doesn't feel scratchy at all. It's just more of a dry, like not a cream to powder, not a putty, like not a super shock shadow. It's a very unique shade. This green is probably the most used shade out of this in the quad, but this blue is the second most used, and it truly is gorgeous. It is so pretty. Now, let's see if it matches, okay? Oh, haha. Yes, it does. It does. It does, it does. This one does have a slightly different shift to it. It has that greenish gold shift in there. It's a little lighter in tone than that. Like, this is more of a turquoise with a little bit of like sky blue glitter. This is a turquoise with a greenish gold shift to it. But this one is close enough, I think, that I can achieve the look from this one with other palettes. I have a big palette that has like all the colors of the rainbow, and I have these kind of like turquoisey shades. I don't need this one in particular, I guess, if this shade is so similar. Oh, this hurts. Oh my gosh. I told myself I would be ruthless. I think it's time to say goodbye to this one. I get one specific look out of this palette. I don't think I should be keeping a palette for one specific look, especially one that I don't wear every single day. Okay, let's all breathe and say goodbye to the Electro Turquoise palette from Kidos. But this green shade is so unique and pretty. Like, I love it so, so much. Oh my gosh, these are so gorgeous. Very high quality shimmer shades. A lot of the quads from Pat McGrath are really good, but this is not the same formula as the one that I decluttered. Like, this is a luxurious, amazing formula. The other one is very like almost Colourpop, which is not a dig on Colourpop, but if I have a Colourpop palette that's the same quality, I do not need for you to pay the Pat McGrath price. Just a heads up. But this one is well worth it, especially on sale. I would definitely still get this on sale just because it is an expensive palette. But if you want those pops of color, it's truly just a beautiful palette. So keep. I have two Charlotte Tilbury palettes, and I am so tempted to get rid of this. It's kind of wild. I tried this. I used this multiple times, and the packaging's beautiful, but I just have a feeling that Charlotte Tilbury's formula is not for me. This is the, oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. If I could keep it for the packaging, I would. I don't know. It still tempts me, honestly. This is the Beautyverse palette, and it says it's a beautifying filter for your eyes. I'm not sure what that means. It's eyeshadow, guys. But the colors in here are so good. Do I have these colors in a bunch of other palettes? Absolutely, yes, I do. I'm a fish. I am attracted to sparkly, glittery, shiny things. This grabbed me in. Honestly, especially this light blue shade. I love that. But, plot twist, I have an icy blue shade, kind of similar, from Colourpop. And it is very similar to that. It looks very similar on the eye. Do I need to keep this palette because of that shade? Heck no, probably not. I also have a purple shade that's really beautiful. Not quite the same tone, but I actually reach into this one a lot more. And the pinks. I have pinks in other palettes, like Natasha Denona and things like that. The rose gold. Absolutely, yes, I do. So do I need to keep this? I think I've talked myself out of it. But it's hard because I spent a lot of money on it, and it really is a pretty palette. Yeah, but I have to declutter it. I have to. I can't get sucked in by the packaging. Charlotte Tilbury has some great products, but their eyeshadow is not what I reach for. Honestly, like, it just isn't. I need to come to terms with that and stop buying the pretty packaging, honestly. And the matte formula, I forgot to mention, the matte formula is okay. Not great. The shimmers are definitely the highlight in this. Yeah, so this one is a declutter. And my friend is going to be very happy that she has a nice, luxurious eyeshadow palette. But hopefully she likes it a little bit more than I do. Maybe it's because I've tried so many formulas. Maybe that's the problem. But I just don't particularly love it. This one is also from Charlotte Tilbury. I do tend to like this one a little bit more. This is the Pillow Talk Dreams Luxury Palette. This one is a great travel palette. It has a nice formula. Is it anything crazier than Colourpop? Probably not. But it is a great palette. Actually, do I need to keep this? It does have a more sophisticated glitter to it. I think it does still have a place in my collection, especially a quad that I can travel with. I'll keep this one and get rid of the big one. The mattes in here are better than the other one. These mattes are nice and blendable and soft and buttery, but these shimmers are not as punchy as the ones in the other palette. I do wish that these had a little bit more of a kick to them, and they almost look the same on my hand. See, the Colourpop ones look better. You know what? Do I want to get rid of this? I spent so much money on these, and I think that's part of why I don't want to declutter it. But look how the Colourpop shades look. They're super punchy and glittery, and these, I mean, they're okay. They're not even as good as like the Makeup by Mario ones that are down here. I think I have to declutter. I think I do. I can't just hold on to it because it's expensive. I need to stop buying expensive eyeshadow. Unless it's a brand that I know and love, I need to stop. Because palettes like this exist. These are from LA Girl. These are the exception to the rule for LA Girl, okay? So I know I mentioned don't buy like a 5-pan palette from them. This one, this particular formula is good. The Bouncy eyeshadow palette on Cloud 9 from LA Girl is great. I will say that the mattes in here are not my favorite. They are not the same kind of mattes as their other palettes that I love so much that are like buttery and blendable and powder. These are a cream to powder kind of a formula. They are truly bouncy eyeshadows. I did not know what that meant really, but it feels wet when you touch it. Like it is, like it really feels straight up like you're dipping your hand in water. It's kind of crazy. The shimmers in here though are almost like Super Shock shades from Colourpop, and they are so sparkly. They're kind of like a cross between the Makeup by Mario and the Colourpop. It's just diamonds, diamonds, diamonds. It's so pretty. The glitters in here, oh, they're so good. So this one I'm keeping because I love it. I will be letting my friend try this and see if she likes it. And then if she likes it, she can either maybe have this one or we can get her her own. But it's just so good. It's so good. So yeah, see, this is like, I don't know. How do you even choose between all these? Okay. You know what? Maybe not. I'm rethinking this already. I personally don't reach in here all the time because of these mattes. Because they are that bouncy formula, they're nice and they're fun. Do I prefer this wet kind of formula? No, I don't. I think I prefer a little more pigmentation off the bat. These I have to build and build and build for the mattes. The shimmers are great. I don't have any notes about that. The mattes though, I have so many palettes in here, I'm just not going to reach into that for that. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and declutter it and give this to my friend because I think she would really like this. For makeup beginners, I think this is really nice. It's blendable, it's easy to build, but you have to build a lot to get to like a lot of pigmentation. So someone who doesn't know the pressure, like the proper pressure to apply to usually like get that amount of pigmentation you want, this is great because it's going to be hard to mess up. The glitters are super easy and fun, and I think she'll have a lot of fun with this, and I think it'll go great. Like, I think she'll like the color scheme. I'm going to go ahead and give this to her, Declutter It. It's a great palette. Maybe not for my collection, though, as much as it pains me because the glitters are really great. I know that I have other palettes from LA Girl especially that have a glittery shade that I love. So, Declutter. This is the Keep It Playful eye palette from LA Girl, and it is in the shade... Oh, it's in the shade Playmate. I knew it had a name. Okay, so this is the pinky 9-pan from them. It's so good. This shade especially is like metal. It looks so reflective. It's beautiful. The mattes in here are how I fell in love with LA Girl's formula. You can truly see how much I've reached into these. This one is almost like a Super Shock kind of a formula. So good. Something about this formula is incredible. This one, great, kind of like that Super Shock shade. This one's a shimmer formula, really good. This red tone, I find myself, I don't use that as much, but this one is my favorite one. I will swatch it for you. It is more like, I don't know, it's more creamy than the others. I don't know why, something's different about it, but in the best way. It is metal. It is so good. It looks like rose gold, just liquid on my... See, the Pat McGrath is right next to it. And this one's so good. I mean, if it can hold its own next to Pat McGrath Shimmers, I think from LA Girl, this is incredible. This almost looks like Ballerina from Danessa Myricks, like the liquid shadow, but it's a powder. It's so beautiful. Something about this palette has my heart. It's magical. It's sorcery. I don't know what's in this formula, but you need to try it. And I've been so tempted to try the other 9-pans to see if they're the same freaking quality as this one because I love it so much. But I just have so many shadows that I didn't think I needed to buy other neutral eyeshadow palettes when I had so many. But maybe I will. If you want me to, let me know in the comments because I will gladly test the other ones to see if they're as magical as this one. This is incredible. Price point is on point. The formula is on point. Just try it and trust me. It's so good. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe my hand off because apparently I said I was not gonna swatch things and I am swatching things, so I need to make some room. Hand is all clean. We have some remnants of glitter, but that pretty much won't go away until I really scrub, so we're not gonna bother with that now. But moving on. This one is from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the Mini Sultry palette. And you may ask, why do I have the Mini when I have the Sultry palette right there? Well, this one is a lot easier to travel with, and I wanted to try the formula to see if it was the same great quality as the big one. And the short answer is yes. I think that the shades do feel nice. They are very reflective, metallic, everything I liked about the Sultry palette. Very good. I will swatch the ones in the other one just so you have an idea. So it's Cinder and Cyborg from the other palette. So this is what the big one looks like, and honestly it is just, spoiler alert, one of my favorite palettes ever. It is so pretty and so well used. Oh my gosh. So here's Cinder from the original palette, which it is getting a little drier, but it still works. And here's Cyborg. So formula is still really good. Let's see how they compare. So we have Cinder and Cyborg. Now I mean, they do look very similar. I don't know, there's still something about this one that I love, but they are the same. Do I need both? I don't know. The problem is with this one is my favorite shades in this palette, like the rose quartz, is not in here. So I don't know. It does have the shade Pearl, which is my other favorite one. What is the other one? Teak? No. Ember. I don't know. It does have some of my favorite shades, but I really wish it had that rose quartz shade in here. That is my favorite one. I keep using it over and over again. Do I want to keep it just for that? I don't know. It's very hard. It's very hard. This is a sentimental palette to me. I used this. This is the same one I've had for years and years and years. This one is newer and is better for travel. Newer formula as well. Like, it's the same formula, but like newer, not dried out as in. But I don't know. Like, it is really good. I guess it's the same, but something about it just doesn't feel the same. I don't know. It's still really good. I just don't know if I need both. That's the problem. It got really dirty. I don't know why, so I don't mind that. But I'm going to keep it. Only because I don't know what I'm going to be doing with the big one yet. And I want to keep it, these shades in particular, in my collection because I really enjoy them. Oh, Steampunk was one of my favorite ones. Is Steampunk in here? No, it's not. So Steampunk and Rose Quartz are not in it, but they're in here. And I really, really love them. Those are some of my most used ones. So it's really hard because I don't know if I should declutter this one. But this one is for the big palette video, so let's not mind that one just yet. But I think this one is going to be a keep until I know what I'm doing with the other one. Short answer. So keep for that one. This one is a mini from Pat McGrath, and I think I can go ahead and declutter this now. It had a good life, it had a good span, but I just don't think it's the best palette in my collection. So this is the Mini Eyeshadow Palette Sublime Smoke from Pat McGrath. They did a few of these mini palettes, and honestly, they're good. They're just, I don't know, like, these shimmers are underwhelming. I can get them from ABH. Like, they look very similar. And ABH actually is a little more sparkly. This is more just metallic, like straight up metallic. And I love me some glitter. The size is nice for travel, but it's just as expensive as like a Natasha Denona one, and you get less product. So I'm going to say I don't recommend these as much. I do think they're a good formula. I just don't think I need to keep them. So declutter. So before we dive into the Natasha Denona mini palettes, which I have an absolute ton in my collection, I am going to show you my Give palettes, and we're going to see if I want to declutter any of these, but I don't think I do. So this is the Icy in Color Simple Kind of Life palette from Give Beauty, and it is a very simple, easy 4-shade of brown neutral tones, but it is a clean makeup brand at Sephora, and the formula does feel very nice. I really enjoy this if I just want an easy everyday, like I need to leave the house and I just want one matte shade on my lid. I tend to reach into this a lot, actually. So I feel like I kind of want to keep it. Like, it has a nice cool tone option, has a nice warm tone, a neutral. I think it's just really nice. Like, I can't deepen it up a ton with the shades in here, but just enough that it's a natural makeup look. And so for that reason, I think I might keep it. This one, however, is their like multiple shades with shimmer eyeshadow palette. So this is the Icy in Color Make Me Like You, and I really enjoy this one. So their shimmer formula is great. Their matte formula is really great too. Now, part of me is wondering if I need to keep both. The shimmer shades are a little on the drier side, but they're still really like hyper sparkly. And for a clean brand of eyeshadow, which I don't have a lot of clean brand eyeshadows, this is really good. And I love pairing it with the loose shadow from them too. This one, Glimmer, so freaking good. So it's really hard for me to get rid of them. This one is more of the pinky toned one, and this one is more neutral. I think I'm going to go ahead and keep both. As I said, I don't have a lot of clean eyeshadow brands for my collection, so I'm gonna keep this because this might be my only one. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep both. I found this because it looked like the same packaging. This is 100% a declutter, okay? I was gonna lay out all my Natasha Denona palettes, but this one was a sneaky who stayed in this collection. I thought I got rid of it immediately. This is the Colourpop Warm Wishes eyeshadow palette. This is 100% do not buy. Do not buy. Do not pass go and collect $200. This is a no. Something about these glitter shades wrecked my eyes. It was scratchy. I didn't like it. It just didn't work for me. Maybe you'll have better luck with it. I did not like this. I usually like Colourpop's formula, so it surprised me because these colors are really great, and I thought their shimmer formulas would be their same shimmer shimmer shades that I love. No, this one was not good. Something about this did not mesh well with me and I couldn't wear it. I had to take it off midday. That's how you know it's not working. So this is an immediate declutter, and I don't even know if I'm going to give it to my friend because I don't know, maybe something's wrong with it. Who knows? Maybe it's just me, but declutter. All right, let's talk about it. I have an absolute ton of Natasha Denona palettes. This is just the minis, okay? I have a good amount of the bigger, like, midi size palettes as well, but the minis are my favorite. I definitely have a significant amount of these because I love the formula for Natasha Denona and they're perfect for travel. So I tend to buy the minis when they come out because I love options. I love the formula and I am a menace. I have a makeup gremlin, as people like to say, and Natasha Denona mini eyeshadow palettes are my weakness. So I will try to declutter some of these because I do have some that are older, and I kind of have held off on decluttering some of these because I love to rank my eyeshadow palettes from Natasha Denona, but I have learned so far that, of course, the same palettes are going to end up on the bottom if I just don't like them, so I might as well declutter them. So I'm going to try to declutter a few in this video because, holy crap, I have a ton, so let's just go through it and talk about it. Starting off with the new one that I haven't really gotten to use a ton yet because I've honestly just been using a couple other things recently. I've been rediscovering old favorites and doing other videos, or I've just been kind of rediscovering old favorite eyeshadow palettes and preparing for the declutter for the eyeshadow palette just to see, like, is there something I want to declutter? So this new one has kind of been pushed to the side a little bit, so I don't have a full review yet, but I love the Natasha Denona matte formula, and this is an all matte palette. So this is the Mini Eye Sculpt palette from Natasha Denona, obviously, and it is the perfect travel on the go all matte palette. It's just great. It's so good. I mean, I don't have a full review yet because I just haven't used all the shades in here, but I've used a few and they act just like the formula from all of the other ones that I know and love. So I have a good idea that this one is going to be really great. So if you are looking for an all matte travel palette, this one might be for you. This is really, really nice. It goes from really light to really deep. Perfect for travel. I'm 1000% keeping. It's the newest one in my collection and I need to use it more, but it's so good so far. So we'll see if it keeps it up. This one is their slightly larger palettes, and I have a duplicate, so I definitely am going to be donating one of them to my friend, and then keeping the other because it is, again, a nice, neutral, easy travel palette that I actually do like traveling with. This red tone shade is not always my favorite, but I do like it as like a deepening up the outer corner shimmer shade. I will use it. It's just not as much used as the center shade is. I don't use this red as well. Dang it. I'm like slowly talking myself out of it, but I do really love this shade in the center. This is their beautiful formula of shimmer that is present in pretty much all of their palettes. It's not their hyper glittery one, but it is just a solid, nice formula. And so these center 3 shades is what I use mostly. And I like that it's a lot of product, so it'll take forever to actually get through it. I think I will still keep one of them and donate the other. Whichever one is least used, I will donate, and whichever one is most used, I think this one is the one that's most used. I can tell by the center. I'm going to keep that, and then I'm going to donate the fresh one to my friend. But I do really like this one a lot. Yeah, this one's dirty too. I don't want to give her the dirty one. I'll give her the nice one. The only downside to this packaging from Natasha Denona is it does tend to break the more and more you open it up, which is not my favorite thing, which you'll see later in one of these palettes. It can break, so just be careful with how many times you open and close them. But really great palette. I kind of think that I may eventually take the palettes like this that I don't want to just have these 2 shades. I might just make a Z palette of the shades that I do use. If you want to see me depotting things and putting them in a Z palette, which I actually have one ready to go whenever I want to use it, if you want to see that kind of a video, definitely let me know. These bigger palettes are easy because you can pop out the shades. They have the pinholes in them. These little ones do not, and it is annoying because if you want to depot these shades, you have to completely destroy the packaging for these. So I tend to not like that, but I keep the mini ones intact, and for these bigger ones I may just end up depotting them because it'll be easier and I can just kind of curate the shades to what I want. I don't know. Maybe I'll do that. If you want to see that, let me know. And I can also depot some of the bigger eyeshadow palettes after we've done the declutter. So we'll see. There might be a different video to come. But for now, this one is a keep. Next one that we have is also one of those that can be depotted pretty easily. It has the holes in the back. This is the Cranberry palette from Natasha Denona. And this one is definitely like the Valentine's Day palette for this size of pan. It's very cute, very fun. Actually, both of these. This next one also can be very Valentine's Day as well. But this one does have a beautiful bright pinky shade, which again, I was saying like the Charlotte Tilbury pinky shade, I could find in another palette. That's pretty dang similar. So I do have it in a formula that I love. This one is very similar to this center shade, but you can see the tone is slightly different. Like this one just has a little bit more of a depth to it. It is so freaking good. I think it's even better than that other one, to be honest. You see the flip in that one. It's a lot more apparent and a lot more sparkly. This one is the best one in my opinion. Like the other ones, you're nice, like neutral, everyday, like no fun. It's still good, but like this one has that depth and the flip to it. So good. And of course, that beautiful pink. I don't really use the mattes from the Cranberry palette as much, so that might be another reason that depotting and kind of curating my own would be nice. Maybe I'll come up with a 5-pan palette just with these 3 big ones that I have, and we can see how that goes. I don't know. We'll see. But I think I'm going to keep this one as well because I really love this shade and I love the pink, and I'm going to try to do something with these other shades, but I'll keep it for now. This one, kind of similar. I'm going to depot it and probably make a curated palette. This is the Coral palette. I do like it. I don't love it. This purple shade is definitely the most used out of this palette, and then these two as well are very much used. These two, not as much. This one I do use to deepen up that coral kind of shade a little bit. This, I just don't tend to reach into reds that often. I've just found that out about myself, like burgundies and reds. There really has to be a time and place for me to reach into it. So I don't know. We'll see. But I am going to keep it for these 3 shades. And again, we'll see in another video what happens with those, but keep. Now we are on to the mini palettes. So there are 17 if my math is correct. So I'm going to try to breeze through these. I am going to declutter the ones that I don't like and don't think I will use. It's just a long time coming. If you want, I can do another full ranking of my Natasha Denona palettes, but I do have a video on my channel that does not include the more recent additions, but I think it's pretty up to date, but I will link that in the description box and in the cards for you. Go watch that if you'd like. I go in depth, I do some swatching, but not for every shade, obviously, but I do a ranking and you'll see which one ends up at the top. I do love a lot of these, so it might be hard for you to guess, but yeah, go watch that video if you're interested. I will be decluttering some in this video that will be in that video, but yeah. So this one is kind of on the chopping block for me, to be honest. So this is the Natasha Denona Gold palette. It is their baby gold palette. I do, spoiler alert, have a newer palette from them. This is the golden palette, or the gold palette. This is the baby version of it. And honestly, it's good. It's the same good formula from Natasha Denona, but this shade here, if this was a lighter shade, this is why I wish I could depot, because I love the mattes. I love these shades. This I wish was a lighter gold or a green gold. This is more of like an orange gold, and it is beautiful. It's truly great. Like formula wise, it's incredible. But see how it looks orange? That's what makes me not reach into this palette, is because if I'm going to reach into this palette, I want to be able to use all the shades. It's too small to just use two shades. So I think I'm going to declutter this one. It sucks because the formula is great. I really want to hoard all of the Natasha Denona palettes and not get rid of any of them, because I have this like completionist part of me that wants all of them in my collection. but I know that that's a little bit, I don't know, it's a little bit too much. I should not keep them just because they're Natasha Denona. I should keep them because I want to use them and I love all the shades. Formula, 10 out of 10. This shade though, I wish was a different shade. I just don't tend to reach for that. And for that reason, if I could swap it out, I would keep it. But because I would have to destroy this packaging in order to do it, I think it's just got to go. All of the shades would break if I tried to depot it. So declutter, and I know my friend will enjoy it. Let's go ahead and talk about the one that's similar to that, because we just talked about the gold palette. This is what I wanted the baby gold to be. This is the mini gold palette. This is so good. This is one of my favorite palettes of all time. It's incredible. I love it. What I tell you about the greens. I love green eyeshadow. I love gold eyeshadow. This is like that Taurus Colourpop eyeshadow, but in a Natasha Denona formula and more options. It is perfect. I would not change a thing. I love this shade. I love this one. Obviously, you can see the dip in this. I don't even know if they sell this anymore, which really pains me and makes me sad, because when this is gone, it's gone. And it just hurts me. It really does. It hurts me. Because you know what? The gold palette that they came out with is not greenish gold. It is gold. Just like this gold palette, like orangey gold. It is not green gold. I want green gold. I don't know why that's so hard. If I were to make a palette myself and curate it myself, it would have greens and golds in it, like very heavy greens and golds. Okay, I love it. I think they look amazing on green eyes. I know not everyone has green eyes, but I just tend to gravitate towards these shades. I love you guys, so I will swatch a little bit of my favorite shade for you, just a little bit, but I'll show you what the difference is. I know that didn't really do it justice because I did a small amount, but see how that, it's not as like orange. It is a true green toned gold shimmer, and I just feel like it looks so much better on my skin than the orange does. I just feel like it looks, I don't know, it looks expensive. I love it. I just love it so much. And especially when I pair it with the green shades, it really brings out that green in the gold and just really looks awesome. So this is 100% keep. I could talk about this forever, but it is one of my favorite palettes and it's not going anywhere. So yeah, keep. This one, I don't know if I could be ready to declutter this, to be honest. I love it. I loved it in the past as well. So I don't know. I feel like I should keep it because I really like it. This is the mini nude and it's so good. As you can see, it has a significant dip in a lot of the shades, especially those two shimmer shades, but the mattes also have a big hole in them as well. It's just kind of hard to tell from this angle and lighting. I love this. I don't use this one as much because I told you that those orangey toned shades, not my favorite, but this center, this like whole 4 shades right here are so good. I love them. I can tell the packaging is starting to wear though. This is probably my oldest Natasha Denona palette. I think other than one other one, which I'll show you in a little bit, but this one is so good. It's still amazing. I'm keeping it. Some of the older formulas have not as much sparkle to the shimmers. Those are kind of like that. Like these shimmers are not like super glittery. This one does have more glitter in it, but it's not like the hyper glittery shades that you'll see coming up in like the newer palettes. This one is also not going anywhere. Okay. This is the mini retro, and this is what I really hoped for. I hoped for a big retro palette. And do I have, yeah, wait, yes, I have it. I have the Retro Glam palette, and it's definitely more green. Like, do these look like the same tones to you? Like, there's something different. Like, this is a nice, like, warm toned green. For this one, they went really cool toned with it, and I don't know about this one. You'll see where this lies coming up in my big palette video, but this one I use a ton. I love it. I love this warm green, this like sage green shade. I use a ton. Like, I do these two together, I do these two, and maybe this one together. I sometimes mix the two. I like deepen up this one with the green and do a combination of green and pink, and I love it. It's great. I'm keeping it. That's all I gotta say. Part of me would like to keep all of my Natasha Denona palettes just for swatching purposes, just because I like having them to compare the palettes to and being able to tell you like, oh, you don't need the big palette, you can get this mini palette and it has similar shades. So I may declutter the ones that I said I decluttered, or I will keep them in like a library, like in their own drawer just for testing purposes. I don't know. I haven't decided fully yet. We'll see. But if they're decluttered, I will offer them to my friend. If she doesn't want them, then I will keep them for that library purpose, just for my video purposes. This one is the Mini Zendo palette. I honestly don't know what to do with this. I like it a lot, but it's very similar to others in my collection. This silver is really fun. It's kind of like a muted warm toned silver, which is kind of interesting, and I don't have a lot in my collection that's like it. It's beautiful. You know what? I do like it. This pink shade is kind of like, I've seen a lot of these, and you'll see a lot of shades like that. Oops, sorry, you can't even see it. You see a lot of shades like this in Natasha Denona, especially the Bloom palette that just came out. I have not gotten that one. I don't know if I should, because I have a lot of these tones. So I think I am going to keep this because I can get some great looks out of it. It is a full palette that I can get a ton of different looks out of, and for that reason I like it a lot. I'll keep this one. Next up is one that's also relatively new. So this one is not going to be decluttered because I still need to use it a couple more times to actually understand if I like it a lot or if I want to recommend it. This is the Mini Rose palette. It's really good. I would say so far it's a little bit more on the like underwhelming color story side, but again, if you are a neutral pink lover, this one might be for you. This shade especially is really good. This one has a like pinky blue shift to it, which is a really fun one. Yeah, I can put that right here. It does have some nice dimension in that shade, which is fun. This one's kind of your regular shimmer shade. The mattes are really good. You can get a lot of different looks out of it, so I'm definitely keeping it, but it is definitely on the newer side, so I don't know as much about it. It's not my favorite yet, but we'll see. This one, I need a new one in a desperate way because the packaging broke. So this was one of my favorite mini palettes from Natasha Denona because the color scheme is just right up my alley. I love it. This is the Mini Star palette, and I think they do still sell this one, so I could get a new one. The only problem is the shades are still like, there's a lot left and I don't want to just get rid of it. So I just am keeping it as it is for now. I'll try to maybe tape it or fix it a little bit, but it like broke. You can't put it back together. Sadly, it was my most used one, so I kept opening and closing it all the time, and it proved to destroy the packaging. So this color story is one of my favorite ones though. I love all three shimmers. There's a nice like neutral here, pop of color, and then you have your two mattes, one deepening and one regular. So the shades in here are really good. The formula is really good. It's one of my favorite ones. I'm going to keep it. I just really wish that the packaging was better and that it didn't break on me. But the color story is worth it, and I might actually repurchase in the future a nice new one that isn't broken. We'll see. Okay, so that's a keep. Then we have our Mini Biba palette. This one is more pinky toned than the Biba palette itself is. There's not a lot of pink tones in that palette. I have the Biba neutral palette. These tones are definitely different. So I think I am going to keep it. It does kind of remind me of a lot of the ones that I have, like the Zendo palette and the Starlit palette. It's still really good though. It's a nice travel. One shimmer only. I wish it had two shimmers in it. This one's kind of a cream to powder shade, which I don't really see why they put that in here, to be honest. I wish it was a different shimmer instead, maybe a deeper shimmer, or just like a different tone, something. But still really good. Great travel palette. I'm keeping it. This one I only use on special occasions. This is the Mini Xenon palette. They have since come out with a full like MIDI Xenon palette, but I don't know if that one's for me. I think this one is enough for me to get that kind of a fill. The silver is like a disco ball. It is a mirror. It is so pretty. And it has this unique brightness to it, almost like a blue tone silver. It's just so good. And it kind of reminds me of the Give Me Glow silver that I have that is just so striking, but it's in the Natasha Denona formula that I love. And I can really go from light to deep. This is almost like a blue toned gray, which is really unique in my collection. This is unlike anything that I have in a palette. I'm keeping it 100%, even though it's not something I normally reach for every day. This one I am kind of tempted to get rid of or to declutter. This one is the Mini Love palette, and it's good. The formula's great. I love this duochrome. That's like the most fun part. This shade, I feel like they have this shade in every palette. They have a version of it in the Rose palette that's very similar. They have a shade like that in the Mini Zendo palette. In a bunch of different palettes in Natasha Denona's minis. I don't know why this shade keeps coming up. Maybe it's their most popular. I don't know. But I definitely use these 4 shades the most. And this one is like, it's good, but it's everywhere in her formula. So I don't know. I don't really reach in for this a lot, like these like purple tone shades. I just don't find myself reaching for it on a regular basis. I do like it and it is unique. So for that reason, I think I am going to keep it, because I do occasionally reach for purple, and I probably reach for this more than I do the mid-size palette. And I think I would rather keep the small one than the larger one. So I'm going to keep this one for now. It's not my most used, but I like it. This one, I don't know. This one I might actually end up decluttering. This is the Mini Bronze palette. I have the mid-sized one, and in this case, I actually like the mid-sized one better. So this one has one shimmer shade, and it is that orangey gold shimmer. It is copper, but it looks orange on me. But I wish it had something slightly lighter in here to accompany it, like maybe this shade or this one. I don't know. Either of these 2 shades, I wish they would have put a different shimmer in there. It's beautiful, but the palette, like the mid-size one, I like better. So I think I'm going to go ahead and declutter this. I might keep it for like reference in the future, but as far as like in my collection, I think I'm going to declutter it. This one, I really like this one, but I don't know if I reach for it a lot. This is the Mini Glam palette. I used to reach for this a ton, and I have since kind of gotten away from it a little bit. I don't know, maybe it's because the shades are not hyper glittery. They're just the normal standard shimmer shades from Natasha, which is fine, but there's just so many different shades from her that I tend to reach for more. And I do have the Mini Glam, or the mid-size Glam palette, and that one I like better than this mini one. So I think I may actually declutter this one as well. This is weird for me because I don't usually declutter Natasha Denona palettes, but this is a very rare occasion for my channel. Here is the Sunset palette from Natasha Denona, and I am definitely going to declutter this. I can only count on one hand how many times I've actually reached for this palette. So it is one of their oldest palettes. I think it might be the first palette I ever tried from them. Yeah, maybe. I don't reach for reds, you know that, so that's out. These shades are just like the Mini Nude palette, so I can reach into that for there. And I don't reach in for the old, like the orangey shades either, so declutter. This one is an absolute keeper. I love this. This is one of my absolute favorites from them. This is the Mini Starlet palette. I've worn this to weddings. I've had so many people ask me what I was wearing. It's such a beautiful palette. It is a beautiful neutral pink, light toned palette. Perfect for spring vibes, honestly, but this shade right here is so special. I am going to use it up completely, and I want to know if I can get a refill of just one shade, honestly, because this one is so good, and I'm going to hit pan on it. It has a blue-ish reflect, but it's a beautiful rose gold shimmer shade. But you can see the blue glitter in there. It's so incredible. I love it. I am absolutely keeping it. It is one of my most used palettes in my collection, just of all time, not just in Natasha Denona. So I'm keeping it. I have 3 palettes left, so we are almost done. And oh my gosh, there's a hair. Get off. All right, so let's see. Starting off, we have the Natasha Denona My Mini Dream palette. I love the packaging that they did for this one. This is kind of what the Glam palette, like the Mini Glam, I thought should be. These like cool toned neutral shades. I love it. I'm keeping these. This is like a perfectly curated mini palette in my eyes. You have the warm toned ish. You have like a light, a medium, a deep. You have a darker shimmer shade and a lighter shimmer shade. You have everything in here to make a well-rounded look, and you can kind of switch it up if you want to. This one's so good. The packaging is nice and unique. The tones look good on my skin. I love it. One can be decluttered. This is another oldie from Natasha Denona, and this is the Mini Tropic palette, which I don't even know if they ever did a Tropic palette, like a mid-size one. Maybe they will eventually. Who knows? This one is not great. This is the only Natasha Denona palette that I have that I don't like the formula of. This green, I wish I loved because I love that shade. I love this mint one. This one's not bad, but this one and this blue are awful. And this light blue is awful. And this one is not great either. And I don't even think they sell it anymore. It's old. I'm going to go ahead and declutter it. I've been keeping it just because I have it. And I didn't want to declutter any Natasha Denona palettes. We are down to our last one here, and this is the Metropolis palette, the Mini Metropolis palette. And this one might be the one that I keep that has these bronze toned shades in it because I did declutter the bronze. So I think I'll go ahead and keep this one because they're so similar. This one is a little bit brighter in tone, which is kind of fun. So you can see it has a little bit of a similar look to these two shades. So it has like this one in it and then very similar to that. Kind of similar to that, this one as well. So because I decluttered these, I think this one I will keep. And I love this turquoise shade. It's really fun. And I love these two shades as well. This one's very unique in Natasha Denona's formula. Like, I haven't seen a lot from them with this color. This is so good and it is more unique. And I've already decluttered a bunch, so I'm gonna keep that one. Let me go ahead and put them back in my drawer and see how I did. Alright, so that one drawer is down to just half a drawer, which is incredible. I have decluttered a ton of palettes. These are the ones I have decluttered. I have them all stacked over here, but I think I did really good, actually. I did a lot of Natasha Denona ones, which was kind of surprising because I usually don't do that, but this is definitely more manageable. A lot of these I actually will reach for and use, so I'm very excited about that. The Anastasia one I have here, it usually lives in a different spot, but I just put it here for now so you can see because I kept it. But yeah, half of the drawer is gone. And it was kind of like 2/3 of the way full. Not fully full, but next time we will be doing this drawer, which is kind of a monstrosity right now. And don't mind this in the back. I'm cleaning up. It's whatever. But I have a ton of palettes in here and I need to go through them. So this will be my big palette declutter in the next video. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And I hope you had an amazing day or night wherever you are. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you would like to. It really supports me and helps my channel. And I really love doing these videos and I'd like to continue to do these videos, so your support means a lot. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video for the full palette declutter. Bye guys!